by the mystery. I deserve your honesty, because I don't want love. You took it from me, I was your shadow. I had no energy, I was tired of taking the heat. I was hopeless in your fantasy. You need someone, whenever, whatever your heart desires. Your love is like fire. You talk a lot, you don't reflect. You promise words you can't protect. You need someone, I never knew you. You left me in the dark. I only wanted space from you to let our pain dissolve. I stay here alone, trying to evolve. Are we holding on? I deserve your honesty, because I don't love. You took it from me, I was your shadow. I had no energy, I was tired of taking the heat.
And we are live. Yes, we are live. Hey, everybody. It's Nick here. I'll be handling this episode of Total Media Live podcast today. I'm so excited to be here for much more reasons than one. I want to go back to that idea of we are live because I am alive, and good Lord, am I happy to be here, because as many of you probably know, because, you know, there hasn't been a quiet news front all over the United States, Nashville, Tennessee got hit by some pretty big-ass tornadoes this week, and unfortunately, I was one of the displaced. You know, it's crazy. You never think in a million years this can happen to you. You take a look at what happened in Joplin, what happened in the Houston for the hurricanes, and you never think that, like, life is just, you know, so precious, and, you know, you can never imagine that those things come so close to you. And so I am just so happy to be here. I am so happy to be with my friends who I love very much. And I am so happy to be here with you because I get to interview such a wonderful human being today. And I get to talk to him about some of my favorite things in the world, being music and video games. So without further ado, let me introduce my good friend, my colleague, one of the most badass musicians I know, Mr. Ryan St. John.
Dang, dude, that's an introduction.
Ryan,
man.
how are you today?
Good, man. I am also very glad to see you here. It was a scary time.
We've had some great memories in that apartment, Tim included, sitting behind the glass right now. But, you know, it's just unbelievable. Like, I mean, It rocked the entire city of Nashville, you know, whether or not you were actively, you know, affected or not, you know, it's touched everybody.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because, like, some of my best memories of being down here in Nashville, only being here for a year, definitely were that apartment. Like, the Christmas party, like, having dinner, like, you guys making that pasta, and just, like, seeing all the new faces, all the new friends being made. New Year's Eve, just, like, getting trashed, like, having a good time. Like, man, it was so much fun, and that was devastating. That was scary, dude.
So
oh, my gosh.
It's for our audience, like, I live in an apartment over on the east side of Nashville, which is one of the areas that received a lot of heavy damage. You know, maybe not the most. You know, there's Putnam County and as well as North Nashville, and North Nashville needs all the help that it can get right now. But I live on the bottom floor of my apartment, and the tornado took off the entire roof of my side of the complex. There are two gargantuan holes in the top of my apartment's roof that just look like, you know, a giant just clawed them out and ripped it off. And
it's like a war zone.
I know. Honestly, when my girlfriend and I woke up, it felt like an IED or a mortar strike hit our building because, you know, it was just a gigantic explosion. And, you know, we didn't even get the tornado alarm and walked out, and it just looked like a bomb went off. There were wires hanging everywhere, debris, cars, windows shattered. It was truly something surreal. But, all that matters is, your things are replaceable. Your, people are not. And that's all that matters. And Pizza the cat is not. And Pizza is very safe and sound. And she has been a trooper through all this. But, not all is lost. In the midst of our rubble, we recovered this ancient relic of Mr. Han Solo here.
There he is.
I found him amongst the remains, and he might not have been cryogenically frozen, but he looked dirty as hell. And it's just like I kind of like think of this as like this is what remains of my apartment. Is the spirit of Han Solo.
Right.
And I mean, I like to think of Han Solo as not the asshole that he was in the old Star Wars, but really just here because he's covering my ass.
Right, exactly. He's always got your back.
I know.
Doesn't
He's
matter.
always got his back. I know, man.
Whether or not he shot first, he's always got your back.
So Ryan, you know what I learned about you the other day and it really shocked, and I've just noticed this recently because one of the Daddy's Dog Shop guys is the same way, is I think you're one of the few people I know with Saint in their last name. And I was like this year's old when I learned that there are people in this world walking around with Saint in their name.
Yeah, no, I'll fuck with people sometimes and be like, oh, no, it's Street John. I know.
Ryan Street John.
And I don't necessarily even know where it comes from. It's my dad's side, which he's like kind of Native American, also Nicaraguan, so like not sure where it comes from. Yeah, right.
Well, what's even crazier is so the other guy who has Saint in his name, he's Saint Marie. And
nice.
cool. I think he is a dead ringer for you, which just makes it even so weirder.
Nice. Okay.
I know
There's a lineage. To
it. It's like he's got the sandy blonde hair and the beard, and he's a musician too. Y'all sure?
I gotta meet this person.
I know he might be your long lost brother.
Yeah.
I mean, you both love hot dogs. So.
If we kiss on the mouth, we might become the same person.
Man, don't spoil Freaky Friday for me. So anyway, guys, welcome. I'm here with Ryan here. So Ryan is an accomplished musician, and he plays in a couple of bands in town. Currently, his two musical projects are Valleygirl and Strange Nights. Both bands are wonderful, and they're some of our greatest friends in town. So I'm a little curious, like, how did you start? Like, where did your background in music come from? Where kind of did you cut your teeth, and what kind of led you to this style of music? Because I know that this style of music is very much in the forte of what you love personally, as what you love to listen to as well as play. So I'm curious to hear about that.
Yeah. No, the venture into music kind of all came from my parents put me in a lot of different things growing up and like would just throw me at like gymnastics, football, soccer, baseball, and like they tried to get me to play trumpet when I was in 7th grade, and like I hated most of it. I was just like a pretty rebellious kid.
Right.
And then we moved to Michigan. I was born in California, moved to Michigan when I was 13. Moved to Michigan, and then we were going to give it another shot, like give music another shot, and I started doing guitar lessons with my dad. And even then I like was hating it. I was like, just didn't really want to do it. It was another thing that my parents were trying to force me to do, which is not a bad thing. Force your kids to do stuff because eventually something's going to stick. And what made it stick for me was just other people. I met a dude named Paco, and he was my age, also learning how to play guitar. And it was very much the like we'd go hang out and like just like learn dumb songs together. It wasn't like the sit down like learn how to play, do this. It was the hey, let's have fun. Let's have fun and do this.
Yeah. And, I think that's the toughest thing to understand as a kid because, there's that John Mulaney bit of like, nobody look at me or I'll kill myself. And I feel like that's kind of like how it is when you're trying to figure out navigating. Because I come from a musical background too. I mean, I played piano for like 8-9 years or something like that.
Damn,
yeah. So I used to like classically play and I would get roasted for it in like middle school and high school because piano's not rock and roll, bro.
And middle schoolers are vicious.
They are the most vicious because they will, to quote another John Mulaney bit, they will find the thing that you are most sensitive about and they will exploit it.
That's the thing I'm most sensitive about. Exactly. But so it ended up sticking when I found other people that I enjoyed hanging out with that were also into this thing, which is very much like going forward in my life, just in general with my hobbies and stuff, that's where I saw myself sticking towards certain hobbies. It's not necessarily that I had a big pull towards one thing or another. It was that I was meeting these people that were really into these things.
Yeah.
And I was like jumping on board with them on this journey of this like craft or like trade or whatever we're doing. It's like, I can see how much you love it. I want to be there with you. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah, and there's definitely strength in numbers, and I think that's the thing that you kind of have to navigate. And sometimes, when we're kids, we don't even really understand this, is that you got to have fun with whatever you're doing. There's a difference between playing your scales and going to your lessons and excuse me, and your parents making you do the 30-minute practice intervals. At least I know that's what my parents did, and I'm sure if your dad is teaching you guitar, like your Jedi Master is going to be pissed if you're not you're not working on your saber techniques.
And that was always the not fun part. I had only that with guitar lessons and not the hanging out with my friend, drum machine in front of us, and we made a song called Freddie Suave that was 3 chords and really stupid.
Freddie Suave,
man, that was the first song that we ever made. And
that's a good alter ego when like you don't want to like be found or something like that, or like if you're trying to like do something embarrassing, like the reservations are under Freddie Suave. Freddie Suave.
Right. Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Take my mistress to dinner under Freddie Suave. Yeah.
Freddie Suave taking his mistress to dinner, something like that. No, but that's awesome. Yeah, and I definitely experienced that as a kid too, like trying to find people to play with and try to make it a little bit more fun. But there's definitely a difference between learning Bach on piano and someone buying you the sheet music to the Pokemon theme song. And so I think that's really for like kids and like definitely for like parents who have like these kids that are coming of age, is like you got to make it fun for them, and you have to. It's hard to drive it home, but you have to understand that like the reason that parents make you do stuff is because they know that down the line it's going to serve you useful. You may not hate it, you may hate it when you're 13, but when you're 26 and living in Nashville and trying to make a career out of it, you bet your ass you're gonna thank them for it.
Exactly, and that's exactly it. Is like like I may have hated a lot of those things that you made me do, parents, but like I'm so glad that I at least was forced to do it, so that I knew like something stuck and like something had to give eventually, which is good.
Everybody go thank your parents.
Yeah,
go thank your parents
real,
right now.
Yeah, you never know, they could be in a tornado tomorrow. Like, go love your loved ones.
So that's kind of your background in that. So tell me a little bit about the start of Valleygirl. We'll get into Strange Nights a little bit later, but I mean for the tenure of like our friendship, I've known you as Ryan from Valleygirl, Jake from Valleygirl, except so on and so forth. So tell me a little bit about that and kind of where it got started and some of the influences behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was so I met, and it all Valleygirl started with Riley Grayson, who's our friend. He's the singer of Valleygirl and Strange Nights.
Riley wishes he could be here, but unfortunately he's got to work.
Yeah, I know. What a dingus.
I know. How dare he make a financial living to improve his life?
Right. How dare he? But no, he was and is the force behind Valleygirl and the project beforehand. So I met Jimmy, who's the drummer, and Riley. I met them when I was a freshman in college. It was our buddy was hosting a battle of the bands, and he was like, we just need musicians to be judges. And their band, Riley and Jimmy's band, Weston Run, is what it was called at the time. That was like kind of like pop rock. They were a part of it, and they were looking for a bassist. So my buddy Taylor ended up joining their band just a couple months after they played that Battle of the Bands, and was in Weston Run with Riley and Jimmy and their other guitarist Adam at the time. They were they were in that band for a handful of months, and then I believe the guitarist left. Taylor knew me and was like, hey, my buddy Ryan plays guitar. Right on. Like, he could probably join us. So I was in a band with Riley, Jimmy, and our buddy Taylor for about 2 years as Weston Run. And then when we'd done about 2 albums with me involved in it, or like 1.5, an EP and an album. And then... So it was pop rock at the time, and then Riley's influence has always been like pretty 80s based, but also
Stop.
I know, oh my gosh, but also like pretty like pop rock, pop punk influence as well. So he bought a Korg synthesizer. And then it was all downhill from there. Like at that point, like the last Western Run song that was written was called Julie, and even then that song could probably be a Valleygirl song. So at that point it was like, all right, like maybe it's time to like see what else, like a new project to see what's going on.
Trend forward and seeing like that.
Exactly.
And I feel like that seems like you guys' writing process for the most part is it's really consistent. And I kind of want to feel like I got to go save Riley because I feel like he's trapped in the 80s half the time.
Right.
Like I'm honestly just waiting for him to show up in like with just those giant like, you know, creepy ass glasses from the 80s and like jorts and a Slayer t-shirt.
Don't say that because he'll do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe that's kind of what I'm trying to manifest.
Right,
Maybe I'm trying to speak it into existence.
Yeah,
here.
there you go.
What were some of those bands that, you know, kind of growing up that got you really on that kick? Because like, there's definitely one. You definitely don't go from like I'm just gonna really blast Weird Al Yankovic to, you know, I could really go for some 80s synth pop. So what were kind of those like benchmark bands for you growing up?
Yeah, so it was actually kind of funny, especially moving so much as a kid. I was a pretty emo kid. So a lot of what I listened to in high school was like post-hardcore music, like For Your Strong, Pierce the Veil, A Day to Remember, like a lot of the like scene, you know, like I'm a scene kid.
Forever. You know, you just don't. I mean, you grew out of your swoop hair. You got a little swoop in the front here.
Yeah, it'll never go away.
No,
the swoop will always be there.
The swoop will always live in your hair forever.
Right, exactly. So there was a lot of that, and earlier on in middle school, it's like I didn't listen to as much pop music, like kind of like being into emo and like post-hardcore music. I was kind of more on the vein of like pop music, like gross, like get out of here.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot how a lot of people. I feel like, you know, I mean, you're 26 now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
27.
20. I'm 20. Yeah, I'm 27. Well, you know, somewhere in that general mid
to late 20s. Yeah.
I feel like my appreciation for pop music and even top 40 as a whole has really grown in the past like couple years, because you know, like when you're an emo kid and you're listening to like Pierce the Veil or MCR or anything like that, you hate that shit, like like, you know. But now I look back and I think, damn, I really missed Rihanna's best years of her career.
Right, for real though, because I feel like in that moment when you are feeling yourself so hard with the emo emotional songs, you look at like All About That Bass compared to Cancer by MCR and you're like, where the hell is the emotion? Where's the message? Like, what are we singing about right now? But like you said, being older, and especially I have some friends that are audiophiles that are really into like production and like, you know, are really techie with the gear that they buy. Especially now, I look at music way differently in terms of just like, oh my gosh, this like very, very poppy album is super good because like you just the way they produced it is like so inventive, and you know, like the way that like this guitar is so clear and so gritty and so shiny in the mix, and it fits so well. There's just so many more layers of music, and that's also kind of part of getting into the craft of music, is like starting to appreciate more than just what I was like kind of what I was personally into, is like kind of having a more well-rounded view of it. But that's also what I really like from the beginning with Western Run. What I really loved about Riley personally is that he was always very you know, the songs had to be perfect. Like he was going to spend the money to make the songs sound really good. Like he would not put out a demo. Like you would never hear a demo, like a Valleygirl demo. You won't hear it. It's got to be like,
it's got to be
polished,
flawless,
clean. Yeah. And I think that's really what also kind of set us apart so we moved from Grand Rapids, Michigan. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, you wouldn't necessarily hear the production of the level of band that we are from any of our other like people we play with.
Yeah, but I mean, also to be fair, I feel like you know, Grand Rapids not necessarily like the musical hub of the world, and so kind of those simple nuances in that, you know, gets lost in the reverb nation, as I like to call it.
Oh, that's good. That's a good
I just came up with that.
Yeah, wow. I like that. It's a throwback and a reference. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, yeah.
But yeah, dude. No, it's awesome. That's something that I really appreciated about joining them and just everything that they did at the time. And so Valleygirl kind of got bigger. That's when we added Jake, because now it's like, oh my gosh, there's, before it was Riley and I playing guitars, we had a bass player, Taylor, Jimmy on drums. It's like, okay, well, now we have all these synth parts. And like Riley was going to go to just singing. Yeah. So it's like we brought Jake into the mix because it's like, okay, well, we need more people playing instruments because like
we need more of the wall of sound.
Right.
Give me twinkly shit.
Exactly. And you can only backtrack so much before it's just like, oh, come on, it's not that fun to watch anymore.
Right.
But no, it's that's kind of the conception of Valleygirl itself. We were in Grand Rapids for a while and hit a lot of milestones down there, played a lot of big shows, released some albums.
Yeah, so you hit a lot of those milestones in Grand Rapids, and obviously you've been living there since you were 13. That's your hometown. You've grown up with all these guys. So what prompted your move to Nashville, and like what I mean, obviously music brought you down here, but what was kind of that catalyst for it all?
So our buddy Matt Giroux, we have done albums with since Western Run, and if you go listen to that Western Run album, the last one that we did before switching over to Valleygirl, you can kind of hear the progression of everybody, because even back then, Matt does a crazy good job now. Matt Giroux, shout out Matt Giroux, he has recorded pretty much everything that we've done. Back then, it's funny how even back then his like production and recording was like nowhere near where it is now. It's kind of so we had worked with him, and then he moved out to Nashville just maybe a year or two after we recorded that last Western Run album. So it was, whenever we recorded anything Valleygirl, we actually always drove down to Nashville. So we had been down here maybe 6 or 7 times visiting and recording before we made the move.
Right.
So it was always on our radar, just in the fact that like the guy that we work with, the guy that we know, we really enjoy recording with, like he's here. It's, we've been down here a handful of times now. We've always loved it.
I don't think I've met your producer yet. Like, I don't think I have.
Yeah, he's a little bit more elusive. He has a fiance that is now from England or overseas somewhere. And they're about to get married. So he's got
adult shit to deal with.
Right. He was going to be at our show last weekend, but he was in the UK finalizing paperwork because green card marriages, all that stuff. Yeah. So he couldn't make it. So he's been a little bit more under the radar since we moved here. But actually, we're also recording most, if not all, the Strange Night stuff with Matt as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like that's really good when you know that you have a producer who can hone in on your sound and knows exactly what you want. Like when I was managing Carverton, like that's what, like, I mean, Kyle was a big part of why that music was written, but our producer, Danon Rector, like he really captured the spirit of it. And I feel like that's kind of the job of the producer, is like you can come to him with a body of work, and obviously producers songwrite and et cetera, but I feel like a good producer is able to breathe the spirit of your music into what you're playing.
Absolutely. And it's with that as well, it's like being comfortable also with somebody, because it's like it's
vibe
really,
check, bro. Like
it's a really personal experience, and especially like with Riley kind of going from playing guitar and singing, going to just singing, even just hearing his vocals transform over the years, it's like a crazy difference in terms of how much better he's gotten. And I think a big reason or part of that is just because Riley is and was very comfortable with Matt. So like when we're in the studio, it's like Matt would be a vocal Nazi, essentially, where it's just like, do it again, enunciate this better, do it again, where it's like, if you're doing this with somebody new, if you are like feeling self-conscious at all, it's going to be hard to get like the best takes or like, feel comfortable to like belt it out. So, and it's exactly that of like feeling comfortable to talk shit to each other too. It's like,
exactly.
He's got to feel comfortable throwing ideas out where like if we're going to shoot him down, he's not going to take it personally, and vice versa. So and that's what we found in him. It's a big reason why we came down here too, is just because.
And now he's just gone and been elusive and going to England.
Right, exactly. No, it's so kind of going into the Strange Nights stuff. We started Strange Nights just kind of as like a side project for fun mostly, that we were doing kind of while we were recording the last Valleygirl EP. Our buddy Caleb, who still lives in Michigan, is the other part of Strange Nights. Myself, Riley, and then our buddy Caleb.
Okay.
Caleb and Riley wrote most of like the first 3 songs for Strange Nights, and I just like kind of laid some dreamy guitar over it.
Yeah. As one does.
As one does, yeah. As I've been trained to do.
Been trained in the Jedi arts to lay lay down some sweet flowy rhythm guitar,
some buttery licks.
Oh.
Yeah. So it started all there, and I live with Riley now. So it was a really organic process of like, you know, he went through like some pretty intense heartbreak recently. So it's like, yo, man, I got these songs. I just gotta like emotionally vomit all over my craft right now.
Oh yeah.
And so that was kind of a part of that. So, and that was a really cool experience of like kind of seeing, because it did get emotional when we were recording like Vanilla, the song that I believe played at the beginning of this. You know, it did get emotional even in the doing vocals and stuff. Like, oh, absolutely, yeah. I'd say that like some of the vocals or lyrics in Vanilla are like really raw, really like real, which is something that definitely sets it apart a little bit.
Yeah,
but it's and that's why it's just awesome to have Matt there, because it's like he's, you know, no judgment. Like we talk about farts, we talk about butts.
Yeah, and you know, exactly. Like you guys are there to kind of like, you know, deliver this craft, and he kind of is help navigating and trying to understand the language of it.
Yeah,
and like, I mean, that's the thing is like I felt like when we were producing the Carverton record, like Kyle would say something to Danon. And I wouldn't understand it, and then Danon would communicate it to me in layman's terms just an industry dude and not, you know, just some audio file. I'm like, oh, okay. And so like, yeah, I mean, it's just always nice to have that kind of producer. But what would you say has been like, you know, your most noted professional musical accomplishment that, you know, that, or what you're most proud of, I should say? Yeah,
that's a good question. Because there have been a lot in the past couple of years here. I'd say one that was pretty up there was so our original bassist Taylor, he ended up moving to Chicago, so he left the band at the time. Our last show with him was opening up for Tokyo Police Club.
Oh hell yeah!
And like in high school, I was a huge Tokyo Police Club fan.
Oh yeah!
And so we were.
I played Rock Band. I know.
Yeah, dude. So we were direct support for their show in Grand Rapids. And that was like Taylor's last show. So like that show specifically was like, you know, we opened for Tokyo Police Club, and then like me and one of my best buds Taylor were in the crowd like watching Tokyo Police Club after we just opened for him. So that was like a really cool experience just in general.
And you know, this dude is a true musician, because he probably had the opportunity to watch it side stage, but as anybody knows, side stage sound fucking sucks.
Right. Yeah.
So you gotta go, you know, like, yeah, you side stage is for the clout. Front of house is where you want to see the best show.
Exactly. Yeah. Like and especially being a post-hardcore scene kid at heart, it's like, man, I'm gonna be in the pit. Like, I'm not gonna be throwing bows, but like I want to be in there getting sweaty with everybody.
Oh, dude, I have thrown bows and have had bows thrown at me.
Yeah, right.
Like I got my nose broken during This Is Hardcore 2012.
Yeah. The thing that blows my mind are the people that like are in the middle or front of a crowd, and like they turn around giving snooty looks because people are like bumping into them weird. I'm like, do you know
what did you expect?
Right, do you know where you're at? Like, you know, like I'll see people like turn around like, what the heck? And I'm just like, what? Like, the people are crowd surfing. Did you not expect to get hit?
Exactly. That makes me think of one of my favorite Hard Times headlines, which is, I'm 6'5" and in front of you because God wanted me to see shows better than you.
Dude, that's actually really funny. Kind of a side note. So we were both at the King Princess concert.
Right, yeah.
A lot of little kids at that show.
Was there really?
Kind of a lot. So like at least up to the front. Best part.
I was totally sober and having no fun at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know we didn't even connect because like I was a little too far front. You guys were, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to lose my spot. Didn't want to lose my spot because everybody around me was somehow shorter than me.
Oh, bro, I got that text from you that said front middle, and I said, nope.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm fighting through this crowd. I am gonna go, stumble to the Daddy's Dog stands.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm like, generously 5'6", actually 5'5". So being in a crowd of like people shorter than me, that was like one of the coolest musical experiences. Like, oh my god, I can see the stage.
Well, they were probably like, if that's your height and there were all these little kids running around, they're probably thinking, what is this like dwarf with the beard doing here too? Like,
yeah, right, exactly.
No offense. But.
Oh, none taken. I love it. But yeah, I don't even remember where we were going with that. But
we were talking about the most professional success, and then like as we do in pure fashion, we always love to just go off on a tangent.
Yeah.
But I will bring it back to the full circle. What are you excited about? What's got you pumped? What do you guys got in store? What's kind of the next journey for you?
Yeah, so it's we actually go back into, we're gonna meet back up with Matt next weekend to record 3 more songs, 2 more songs, maybe 3 more songs.
Yeah.
It's always kind of, we go in there with a lot higher expectations than like
Right.
we get in there and it's like, oh dang, this is gonna take a little bit longer.
Yeah, but you got to tease out the creativity. You got to,
Right.
you know, knead through like all the riffs and all the crap to find the beauty in it.
Yeah, and it really does. It's really funny how much time is like dicking around and like doing nothing productive, and then like feverishly worrying about getting something done on time, and that's where that little golden nugget of creativity lies.
Oh yeah, I mean, that exactly. That's where the camaraderie meets your musical influences. Like I can't tell you, like I would always go over to the Carverton studio, and like I mean, folks would like they would bang out a couple of songs, and then we'd go play horse while smoking cigarettes. Like I mean,
right? Yeah,
just
exactly.
the stupidest shit.
Yeah, getting a lot done. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, sure.
Right. Yeah. No. So we're recording a couple more songs. We have 1 or 2 that are almost entirely recorded and almost entirely done. And that's kind of the beauty with the Strange Night stuff, is that we release Vanilla just being that, like, you know, it's got essentially no followers. We're kind of like trying to build it from the ground up at this point. We don't necessarily want to like jump off Valleygirl and be like, oh, check this out. Like we want it to be like kind of its own entity and like to build it from the ground up. So we released this song to be able to be like, oh, like welcome to the world.
For
this
sure.
project.
And I feel like that's just kind of music in general. Is like, you know, you never have just one band. Like I think gone are the days of, you know, your one-stop shop for a band. But like people are, you know, it can be the same people under a different moniker, which is basically like pretty much what Strange Nights is. It's
exactly.
just Valleygirl sans one member or something like that. And like I feel
exactly.
like you see that like all the time. I mean, I know Black Bear's got different projects.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many. There's just even so many bad. I mean, Frankie Iero went off and did his own thing before the MCR reunion and stuff like that.
Yes.
The reunion.
Yes.
Are you gonna go to one of those shows?
I don't know. I might try to. If I do, I would want to go to the Detroit show, because it's its own show. The closest one to here is the one in Georgia, but that's a festival.
Yeah.
I do enjoy festivals, but I think if I was going to go see MCR and pay that much money, I'd rather like get all of the MCR.
Yeah, plus like you're going to be wearing a lot of black. No one wants to be in the sun when you're wearing a lot of black, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't go to that many festivals in general. Just I went to a lot of shows when I was little, and I was like, man, I can't keep spending $50 on tickets, much less like $400 on like a weekend's worth of tickets.
That's why you got to put your roots in the music industry, and you never go to a show where you pay money for it. It's free. It's free 99 all day, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Let me help you. Let me do something to get in for free. But yeah, and then on the Valleygirl front, we're going back to Grand Rapids, Michigan on April 3rd to go play at Founders, which is a brewery that we'd frequent pretty often.
Yeah, no, Founders is dope. I love Founders. The all day IPA, like I fuck with that so hard.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's awesome. Yeah, and so y'all, you can check out Valleygirl and Strange Nights. I believe it's at Valleygirl Music on all socials.
Yep.
And is it just at Strange Nights, or is
I think
it
it's
at
also Strange Nights Music.
Strange Night Music, yeah. Some dipshit probably took the OG handle, so you had to slap music right on the end of it.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's fun stuff.
So shifting a little bit of gears, you know, obviously music is one of my big loves, but I also share quite an affinity for video games, and more specifically, you and I have been playing a little bit of Super Smash lately.
Oh yeah.
I have to tell you, I play a lot of Smash, and I do the challenge. I love the challenge of meeting new people when I play Smash, but I also love playing new people when they don't understand like the level of like Smash that there can be played. Yeah. And so like I have to admit, I thoroughly enjoyed kicking your ass for the first few games.
Okay, so full disclosure, everybody, I don't own a Switch, and I watch an obscene amount of Super Smash Brothers videos. I'll watch a bunch of Little Z videos and a bunch of Zero videos. I should have brought
the Switch so we could have played it today.
Oh my
maybe
gosh.
Maybe the next time we hang out, I'll bring it.
And that's one of the games where it's like I really just enjoy the game so much that like I never get tired of losing.
Yeah.
I never get tired of having my ass handed to me.
I feel like that's the thing is just like you are one forward smash away from like getting a KO. Like I remember like you would throw your Ganondorf at me, and like Ganondorf, obviously just smacks for so much damage and will KO like my little bumblebee nest that just flies off into fucking space.
It's the only way I know how to counter that thing, dude.
Yeah, but
the combos that you throw with that nest are just deadly.
Dude, you ever heard of the Tetris effect?
No.
Okay, so the Tetris effect is where if you play a video game long enough, so let's say you play like a game for like 5 or 6 hours or like multiple consecutive days, so your brain will still be thinking about the game and you will play the game in your sleep. So imagine like you're playing Tetris for 6 hours and then you go to bed, like you will play Tetris in your brain. And I feel like the reason I say that is I feel like I just keep hearing PK Fire in my head just over and over and over and over and over.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, what fresh hell is this?
No, that's actually really cool, and I never really thought about that.
Yeah, well, I've definitely experienced the Tetris effect before. So like, there's like, did you ever play BioShock?
Yes.
Okay, so in the first BioShock where there would be the games where you could hack the vending machines and you have to like do the current flow of water.
Yeah.
So I almost beat BioShock in a day, and I did like a fast run. I didn't do like 100% collectibles, but I remember going to sleep and I was hacking vending machines in my sleep.
Dude, that's what's up though.
I know.
That's awesome.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, no, that's and I feel like, man, I just need to get a Switch because then I'm gonna kick your ass because then I'll be practicing.
My man's over here. Some people buy squat racks, some people buy bench presses, some people buy some Smash to do some ass kicking.
Exactly, it's gonna freaking happen. But yeah, no, and I know you play a lot more board games than I do as well.
It's not
card
really
games
yeah
as well.
card games. So that's how Tim and I actually know each other,
Right.
is through card games.
Shout out Tim.
Yeah, shout out Tim over here doing an amazing job behind the glass.
Heck yeah.
And when I say behind the glass, I mean the glass of his MacBook computer. Yeah, but no, like that's like my thing is like I grew up all that, and I grew up playing Smash too. I mean, I still have my OG cartridge that I got when I was 4 years old. Yeah, dude, I think I own every single Smash.
Those games are like $40-$70.
Oh yeah, I know.
They're so expensive.
And thank God they didn't get ruined in this tornado, because like we got a lot of water damage, and like
nice. That's good.
I took. I mean, my cat and my video games were basically the first two things I took out of our apartment, and a photo of Sam and I. Love you, Sam.
Yes, of course.
But yeah, I mean.
What about your records? Side note.
Yeah. So a lot of my records are destroyed, man. We lost about half our collection.
Oh, that's rough.
It's pretty shitty. But here's the thing: is like we haven't been listening to a ton of vinyl, as it is, and so like I think I'd rather have like the insurance compensation for my vinyl, so I can put it more towards important stuff.
Right.
Like we probably lost like 30 vinyl, but about 50 of it was safe. But
nice. Okay,
I am really sad. I lost my favorite record on vinyl.
Which one?
It's Sometimes Things Just Disappear by Polar Bear Club.
Oh, nice,
yeah,
dude.
Polar Bear Club's my favorite band of all time.
Heck
and,
yeah.
I lost that vinyl, and I'm pretty sad about it.
I haven't heard that band name in a while. I saw them at the Magic Stick in Detroit with In Transit and I think the Wonder Years.
Yeah,
like
I think that's what it was. Yeah, and maybe Balance and Composure was
I
on
think
that.
so. Yeah. Oh man, dude.
I know, dude. I went to Atlanta for that show, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, it was like Polar Bear Club, Transit, the Wonder Years, and Balance and Composure. I feel like there might have been another band or something like Sea Haven or something like that.
Yeah. Oh man, I miss those kind of shows.
Yeah, bro.
So
Emo
much.
music and Super Smash. I mean that. I mean, if you cut me open, that's what you find.
That's what you find. Dude, exactly. Yeah, no, I love video games. My background in video games is very much like still living in California. I was 12 and went down the street to a garage sale and found Diablo 2 for PC.
Oh, hell yeah.
So that like one of the first like games.
My mom would never let me play that. It looked way too satanic.
She had no idea.
Oh yeah.
I just got it and she was like, "Oh boy."
I saw a meme the other day of like it was like Republicans. Video games cause people to commit violent acts. Me restarting my game after I was mean to an NPC.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like,
I didn't like that outcome in Fallout 4. I got to restart.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, and I mean that's really cool. Yeah, my first introduction with a video game. So like my dad grew up. My dad is like probably where I get my spirit of like gaming and collecting
Nice.
and definitely my competitive streak.
Nice.
But my dad like loved that kind of stuff, and he was a big baseball card collector when he was growing up. He grew up in like the golden age of the Yankees, so like when Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio and all those dudes were like big, and his mom, when he went to college, she threw out all of his baseball cards, and probably the equivalent of about 50 grand now this year.
Yeah.
Like in 2020, about 50 grand worth of cards.
No.
So that's for you kids. And parents, don't you ever throw your kids shit out.
Yeah.
Don't you ever do it.
Especially now where like retro things are like always coming back.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I mean, hell, somebody had this
Right.
damn thing in their apartments.
Right, exactly. Retro cool is always
Exactly. But yeah, so I grew up, like, my dad loved games and my dad loved collecting stuff. And so, like, he bought, like, in our basement still today, there is, like, a tabletop Pac-Man and Centipede.
Yes.
And then a stand-up Frogger, Cubert, and a pinball machine. And so, like,
that's cool.
I grew up on those games. And then, you know, my brother, I have a half-brother, and he got an N64 for Christmas in '98, I think it was.
Game over.
Yeah, dude. Legend of Zelda, like,
Yup.
is like definitely like the rosebud of the story of Nick Takovazi.
Yes. I weirdly, like, very vividly remember playing Talk, that, like, the one where you, like, fight all the dinosaurs and stuff with a bow and arrow. Turok. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Talk is a different game. Talk and the Power of Juju or something like that.
Tack and the
Tack.
Power of Ju-
You know what?
Bro,
I'm
we
just
gotta.
gonna stop.
I know you're from the Midwest, bro, but we gotta get that shit away. We need you to gotta eliminate that Midwestern A, and we need to get you saying y'all.
I know, dude. I lean into y'all. I'm all about that.
It's a
so
great
easy.
word. I used to hate y'all because I felt like it made me a hillbilly, but it's super easy to say.
Yeah.
It's gender neutral.
Exactly. In the world of not wanting to assume anybody's gender, here's y'all.
Yeah,
like
y'all.
thank you, the South.
Yeah,
for giving me something.
I
so
also
nice.
think dude is gender neutral, but
I do too. No,
Yeah.
and that's I use dude for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody is dude.
obviously I'm not the authority on this kind of stuff. But I mean, that's just anyway. But I digress.
Right.
But I digress.
Right.
But yeah, man, no, I definitely like. I grew up on like Legend of Zelda, and like my brother had Mortal Kombat, and like I was 6.
Yep.
And this is just such a testament to like millennials, is like I was 6 and Mortal Kombat was such a hard game.
Yep.
And I got through like the gauntlet of
Oh,
like all the
dang.
characters, and I told my mom, and she's like, "You did what?" I was like, "Mom, but I beat it."
10 Hail Marys now.
something like that. But yeah, and so you were mentioning earlier that you've been playing some Rocket League.
Yeah, no, that's I really enjoy. I mean, I've been playing Rocket League for like a year or two now. I don't. I play competitively just in the game, but I don't like do any tournaments or anything like that.
Neither do I. I mean,
Yeah, and it's actually really similar with music. A lot of the games that I play religiously are because I have a lot of other friends that will play those games.
oh yeah, I mean, hell, we played Apex Legends the other day, and
Yeah.
like you've never played.
I don't
it,
play
but-
that game.
but I played it, so
Yeah.
you played it. Yeah,
Right, and that's what's fun. That's always, my kink is watching other people have fun, and like I'm down to like get in on that.
That's hot.
Yeah, right. And so Rocket League was one of those games where it was like introduced to me like that, but I always found it to be such a low commitment game because I can go, oh my gosh, I have to leave in 10 minutes. I can play 2 games of Rocket League.
Yeah,
I can just like, not, if it's Overwatch, it's like, oh my gosh, this game is going to take goddamn half an hour.
I mean, that's what it is with like Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Is like you're locked into like a 15-20 minute commitment when you're doing that.
Right.
And like, but Rocket League's 5 minutes unless it goes to overtime.
Yeah, or unless you get squashed, FF.
Yeah,
like
and
get me out of here.
And then you just forfeit.
Yeah, like
FF, bro.
Yeah, FF. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Bro, you are bringing me back to those Rocket League days. I'm a pretty even keel person. You both, you and Timothy, probably you know me well enough by now. I'm pretty even keel. I tilt so fucking hard during Rocket League.
No.
I think it's the sound of the chat response, just the beep
Nice shot.
Beep.
Nice shot.
What a save. What a save. What a save. Like,
Right.
is truly nothing more tilting in this entire world.
Yeah, it can. Oh man, I normally I love when it's a pretty nice chat. You know, it's everyone's like the other team is even saying nice shot when it's like genuinely a nice shot. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great sportsmanship.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody that's like demoing like everybody on the field, like
Yeah.
oh you bet I'm be like
Oh, yeah.
vile towards these people.
Oh, exactly. And like that's the thing is like Rocket League, like the creator Psionics, like they definitely know, and their text emotes, like
Right.
it definitely reflects that. Like, you know, like you say like okay, like okay, and so like if somebody says okay to you, like you're cool, but they spell it okay, OKAY, and so clearly it's
like-
meant for when your partner fucks
Okay.
up. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Every text option is absolutely so sarcastic. In
Oh
that game.
yeah! Wow.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Take the shot.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, dude. No, I like that game a lot. I'll always play it. And I don't know, cuz I'm not a very competitive person. I mean, like you've played Smash against me. I'm not
Yeah.
one that's going to be like, "Oh, fuck you." Like,
I mean,
"Yeah,
I'm
take
not like that
it."
with casuals, but like, I mean, you sure as shit when there's money on the line. I'm sweaty as fuck.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Gee, Mr. Krabs, you sure are sweaty.
Right. Oh my gosh. No, I love it. I love video games so much. And it really is that is like the kind of like, you know, with the Apex Legends things. It's like I loved jumping back into it because you guys are good. You, Bishop, like you guys are like good. And so
Yeah.
it was fun to jump into it and like kind of like be taught as well, like that way as well. I mean, it's a first person shooter. It's,
Yeah.
It's not.
Well,
not
I
too
mean,
much to pick up
that's
on.
the thing is like you get better at those kind of games by learning on the job, and like I mean, basically just kind of being thrown into the fire. Like you were playing some sweaty ranked games with us, like
Yeah.
I mean, and like that's kind of what it was with when I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Is like I didn't realize how the power curve would be. Like I showed up at 18 years old with a deck from 2011 and proceeded to get my ass handed to me at a
Yeah.
local shop. Like, but you know, I became friends with those people and like I learned it. And I feel like, you know, you can kind of say the same thing for music is like, you know, you
Right.
get better. Like they're both crafts. Obviously, one is probably a little bit more,
Right.
you know, fulfilling just because the skills to play an instrument to me are much more than playing a video game.
Well, and that's the interesting thing now too is that
Don't
the fact
find me,
that
ninja.
yeah, right, is the fact that right it will and that like video games are starting to become more accepted as like sport.
Yeah.
You know, which is like for us being like middle schoolers, high schoolers, like what this is a
Yeah.
sport. Like
This
people
is
are making
sport. I was
Yeah.
just always told it was a waste of time.
right, exactly. Like I loved this because my parents didn't want me to do it all the time. Like,
Spoken like a true emo kid right there.
right.
You don't
yeah.
need them or this town.
Yeah, cheers. But no, that was a big thing. It was just like I just love it so much. I am curious because like something that I've always considered interesting in gaming itself, and I was actually going to pose this question to you just based off of card games that you play is like difficulty in video games. I'll play a lot of like just like linear storyline games, and I
Yeah.
feel like difficulty in video games got very like spoon fed. You know, like
I mean, have you ever played Dark Souls?
right. Well, I mean, there's definitely some outliers in there, but like you know,
Yeah.
it's like the original Mario's and stuff. You know, a lot of those original games you
Yeah.
learned by dying, or like
Yeah.
you know, it's like once you're dead, you have to start all the way back at the beginning. Do you like with the card games that you guys play? Is like did it get dumbed down over the course of time, kind of like some video games do now, or like does it stay within its own meta and like stay pretty sweaty and pretty high tech?
I mean, obviously, I think it's like basically like they print new sets and they make new cards, and so I think really what you know separates a casual from a sweaty player is finding the way to make those interactions work at a higher level and consistently win. I mean, like there was a deck that came out called Windups, and a guy basically like looked at the entire card pool of everything that's come out, and he came up with an OTK, like a one-turn kill
Oh my
based off of these cards, and like it was kind of crazy. Like if he had not written an article about it, I'm talking about like this. It's called the Windup Combo,
Right.
and because Tim and I used to play during a format called Windups, and it was a Windup Combo where if you had 2 cards, you could create an OTK. Provided your opponent had no responses to anything. But
Right.
2 cards was an OTK. Magician Shark.
No way.
Yeah.
And that stuff's not banned. Like
No, I mean it's been outpaced now because the power curve of Yu-Gi-Oh has like,
people find out how to counter
exploded.
it.
Well, it's just like, I mean, so it'll be like the deck will come out in its purest form. It'll stick around for like 6 to 12 months, and then
Right.
it'll get hit with bans. So like a card that made the deck broken gets banned or put to 1
Gotcha.
because you play 3 of a card
Right.
in Yu-Gi-Oh, and it gets put to 1. And so, I mean, it gets sweaty because, I mean, there's obviously like top tier tournaments. Like, I mean, Tim and I have traveled across the country to play it, and Tim actually
Right.
topped an event. Like, he topped YCS Seattle,
Heck
like,
yeah.
and he made top 32 out of probably like 500 kids, like, and
Dang.
like that. And so like
Yeah.
that is like the big leagues. But yeah, I gave you that shout out.
Yeah, that's what's up.
The one thing I'll say is, like, in order for them to sell more product, they have to print like better stuff. So like it's almost like, you know how Apple every year they've got to come out with a new iPhone, they've got to come out with a new product. Well, that's what card games have to do. So like it's not necessarily every year, but like every few months they gotta increase the power level. So your stuff that might have been good a year ago might not be so good now.
Yeah, and
It's almost like nerfing or buffing.
exactly. And like
characters.
there's like you can, I mean, Tim and I can like pinpoint like the sets that like were the power curves for Yu-Gi-Oh, which to me the 2 most prevalent were like Invasion of Chaos and Lord of Tachyon Galaxy, because those 2 sets just had bonkers cards. And so like you see that power curve getting high, but I wouldn't say like
It's not one of those where like the skill level goes down.
exactly,
The meta
because,
stays
and that's
around
the beauty of card games is like if y'all have the cards, like it's not your dexterity that determines who's the
Right.
winner. It's how you pilot the deck.
Right.
And like that's what I think is so fascinating about card games is like you could lose to you get your ass kicked in Fortnite or Apex Legends because there's a dude on the other side with, a $5,000 gaming set and like 0 ping.
Right,
Like,
and just
but-
Twitch shooting
But
everybody.
with Hearthstone, with Yu-Gi-Oh, with Magic, it's all up here. It's all up in your
Right,
brain. And
yeah.
so you have to navigate. And I think that's what's really cool about card games is that the playing field and the technology and the equipment is all neutral because both players can have the
Right.
same exact decks mirror to mirror, and that happens like a lot.
Right,
Like people
right.
will literally sit down and that's like the mirror matches, like you play the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just the skill level of how you know how to play the game, the nuances, maybe some rules that you can even exploit.
Right.
Like, and that's what makes it a little bit better.
And there's an element of chance too, just in the cards that
obviously.
you
I
draw.
mean, yeah, you draw. Like, I mean,
Right.
there's and in a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, like you want to usually have 40 cards. You can have up to 60, but you usually want 40 because it's the lowest odds.
That you'll get the
it's
cards
the
that you
highest
want.
odd that you'll see it, and so like
Oh, interesting.
obviously there's some luck to it. So like there's top decking and stuff like that.
Right.
But most good players will like understand nuances and matchups, and
Right.
holding cards because they know that there's like one problem card in the deck and like you need that card to deal with it. or
No
something
way.
like
When you
that.
go into a tournament, do you have to keep the same deck all the way through, or can you switch out your decks?
So in Yu-Gi-Oh, you get to play with, you submit your list right before an event. Maybe for like local tournaments you don't, but for regular tournaments you submit your deck list, and then you get 15 cards, and that's called your side deck. And so you
Okay.
play a match you play a 3-game match.
Uh-huh.
So best 2 out of 3. And you have 15 cards that don't start in your deck, and you can swap out cards in your deck for the cards that are in your side deck.
Oh, okay.
But you have to start game 1 with all of the original cards that started in your deck. And then
Okay.
games 2 and 3, you can side in and side out.
Is there a certain number you could do all 15?
Yeah,
or
you
like...
could do all
oh,
15.
Cool. Oh, no way.
If you wanted to. But that's the thing is like, 2 cards for a certain matchup, 3 cards for a certain matchup, 4 cards
Right.
for a certain matchup, 1 card for a tech card or something like that.
Do you know the opponent's deck before going into it, or not really?
If you know the person, because,
You might,
because that
okay.
community's pretty small.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, my favorite story was I was playing a deck and I was playing that Windup deck I told you about.
Yeah.
And I got off my OTK
Okay.
and the guy scooped. And so like I got my OTK down
Yep.
or where I was killing him next turn.
Right.
And he goes, I'm going to scoop. And so I can't side. So like I don't know what to side for because I don't know what he's playing because he didn't play
Okay.
a single card.
Oh, no
And
way.
that was his thing is he's like, I'm gonna concede because I know I can't lose this, but you don't know what I'm playing, so I can go in and I know what you're playing and I can tech against you for games 2 and 3. And so he scoops up his cards and he's shuffling his cards and he misshuffles and all of his cards spew out onto the table.
Oh no.
And so I hadn't started side decking. I'm like, Oh, so that's what you're playing.
And then you just
And
like,
just immediately put in my stuff.
Edit. Oh, that's so good though.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, I don't know much about Yu-Gi-Oh card gaming.
Yeah.
Much.
We'll,
Just in
we'll
general.
teach you. We'll show you the ropes.
Yeah, man. That's my kink. Like I'm down.
That's your
Yeah.
king.
So I'm game.
That's the kink of Mr. St. John
yeah,
over here.
Yeah, that's right. He's whatever you like, I'm into it.
Awesome.
That's
well,
my
hey,
tagline.
Well, hey, man, this was awesome. I'm so glad that you came
Yeah,
and
dude.
did this, brother. Oh, yeah. You were a pleasure to talk to.
Yeah, man. Love you. I'm glad
We'll-
you're still around.
Yeah, I'm
glad-
alive.
I'm
The
glad you
tornado
salmon
didn't get
pizza.
me. Thank you, Han.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All hail.
Thank you, our Lord and
Yeah.
Savior. But yeah, man, this was awesome. I'm so glad that you came on and did this show.
Yeah, man. Me as well. This is
Yeah.
super cool. We'll have to play more video games.
We will have to. We have to get you better at Smash.
Yes, I don't take that negatively at all. I will become a lot better, and I'm gonna kick your ass.
All right. I'll take that as a challenge.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Yep, you can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Total Media Live Podcast. We are also on YouTube. We are on all things social. Be sure to check us out, and we will have more episodes coming soon. Again, that's Total Media Live on all platforms. You can find us on Apple Podcasts if you want to take a listen. We hope you really enjoyed this show, and we will see you next time. Bye.